This is module 11 of Marketing 670. So today what I wanted to talk about was products and services. So this is, we're going to be talking about um, all the 4 Ps. And I'm going to start off with product. And I wanted to talk about products and service offerings. And then I want to spend a little bit of time talking about how products are developed. So um, the so there are 2 types of goods, if you will, that are sold in the world. Broadly speaking, there are products. This is physical products. This would be like an iPhone or whatever. And then there are services, and the service offerings are more like a car wash is a service. There's nothing to take home. They're doing something for you, right? DoorDash is offering a service. Yes, they're bringing you actual product, but what DoorDash is doing is delivering it to your house or delivering it to your dorm or whatever. So if you think about products and services, you can really think about the product offering, the physical product offering, and the physical product offering includes a whole bunch of things. It's the actual product itself, the product features, the product quality, the materials, the design, the functionality, how easy it is to use. And then often we put in this product bucket the brand itself kind of falls into this product bucket. What brand is it? And then in addition to that, you might have you would have the packaging of the product, things like the color of the product, instructions that go with it, any sort of additional items that that get included in the box, etc. All of that stuff, that's the product offering. That's what you are buying when you buy a physical product. A service offering is sort of similar, but obviously there's no physical product. So now what we're talking about is still the brand, but now we're talking about the user interface, right? How easy is it for you to use TikTok? Or how easy is it for you and convenient is it for you to get in and out of that car wash? Or how easy is it for you to get a great meal experience at that restaurant? Because remember, services. So we talk about products, right? So Hershey bar is a product, right? Walmart selling a Hershey bar and all the other stuff that Walmart sells is a service, right? So how easy is it for you to experience that sale? User interface is probably more more specifically referring to, like, say, walmart.com or amazon.com. How is the shopping experience online? What's that user interface? But I think we can broaden that and say, how is it what is the sort of experience even in a bricks and mortar sort of physical retail store? Again, the store's service is the shopping. The products that you buy at the store are products being made and sold by someone else, right? So through that retailer. So what is that retail experience like? How does that feel? How hard is it to or easy is it to get the things that you want? The provider of the service? So is the person that you are interacting with, are they friendly? So this might be your server in the restaurant. Is their server friendly? Is the person that is doing your taxes competent? All those kinds of things. Those are services, and the service provider is very important. The service level is important. By service level, we mean you might want to, you may just go to a car wash and just run through it yourself, or you may want to have somebody hand buffing and drying and waxing and doing it, hand detailing your car and whatever. So the service level plays a part in the offering, right? The quality of service. Am I getting am I getting your best lawyer, or am I getting the junior lawyer, or whatever it is? What kind of quality am I getting? And then, of course, delivery can play into service. And I'm going to use the word delivery here a little bit broadly. Delivery can mean literally delivery, like when you order from Uber Eats and whatever, and they deliver to your house, or Uber offers a service, right? They're driving you somewhere. And so, how they do that, how that experience happens, how your app experience happens, all that kind of stuff is sort of gets into the user interface and the delivery, and how well did they drive you, and was the driver, kind of driving crazy and freaking you out or whatever it is because they drive too fast or whatever it is. So I'm using the word delivery here a little bit broadly. So this is meant by the service offering. There's also associated services that you get that aren't sort of part of the product or service per se, but they sort of enhance the experience. So financing, if you buy a car from a car dealer, sometimes you can get financing through that car dealership. Sometimes that financing is through some kind of bank. There are other times where actually the car company or something may have a financing program of their own. But the ability to give you financing so you can pay for a very high ticket item over a very long time is a sort of associated service. Warranties, something that basically says, if this thing breaks, we will replace it. This would be like Apple Care is a warranty, right? That you essentially can, if your phone breaks within a certain time and you bring it in, they will replace the screen, or they'll replace your phone, or whatever it is. Guarantees, sort of like warranties, but guarantees is like, I told you that I would get you, I don't know, let's say your SAT prep or whatever, and I said that I will get you, your kid will get 100 points better than their last attempt on the SATs, or you'll get your money back. That would be like a guarantee. Customer service, right? So just recently returned a product to Amazon. It was super easy. I just brought the product, didn't even have the packaging anymore, but the product was broken. I'd only used it twice, so I said I wanted to return it, and it said you can drop it off at any UPS store. And I went over to the UPS store. They scanned my QR code, and voila, they were like, all set, and I didn't have to do anything. That's great. I love that. So that's customer service. Customer support is sort of related. This would be like if I am having trouble with using the product, that it's not working properly, whatever. Is there a way for me to get support, help? Is it easy for me to find answers to questions online? Is it easy to get hold of a chat bot or something that can answer my questions? Or if I can't get the answer to my questions from a chatbot, can I find a human being that can answer my question? Insurance is another piece. Sometimes you buy insurance with a high ticket, very expensive item. I'm going to get it insured, meaning I'm going to pay some additional money usually. Or sometimes it's offered as a sort of a free element of, so if something goes wrong with this product, it breaks, I can't use it anymore, whatever it is. So sometimes you'll see when you buy flights, you get the opportunity to get trip insurance. This would be, in the case that you get sick and you can't travel, or there's a death in your family, or health issues, or whatever it is. You have the ability to essentially, buy insurance that allows you to, if you have to get out of this trip, they refund your money. And then refunds and exchanges. So the ability, I just gave an example of refunds and exchanges, like my ability to return a product easily and get my money back is important to me, especially when dealing with retailers. Like if I buy something and it doesn't work, I want to know that I can return it. If I have to spend hundreds of dollars on something and I can't return it, I might say, you know what, I'd rather spend $120 in a different store, um, because I know I can return it easily. So you can see on that diagram on the left, it talks about sort of, in the middle, all of those product material sort of pieces that we talked about in the product offering stage. So type of material, size, shape, smell, taste, whatever it is. And then sort of goes out to the next layer: color, packaging, instructions, image of the brand, attachments, all that stuff sort of fits in the product offering. And then the stuff on the top of this diagram is actually the associated services, like service after sale, image of the retail store, the warranty, etc. So what I wanted to move to next was then, how do products get developed? So you can imagine, with all of those sort of moving parts and pieces and whatever, that you have to develop products very carefully and very thoughtfully, thinking about the positioning, thinking about the customer journey, and making sure that you've considered all of the things that customers are going to be looking for, so you can create a product that they are going to love, enjoy using, and then become loyal customers who use it again and again, and ideally become advocates who talk about it and sell your product essentially to their friends and family. So this, by the way, is true whether you are creating a new candy bar or you are creating a new type of service, financing service at a bank. You have to really think through all of the elements of the product. The physical product is important, but it is not the only thing that you have to think about. You have to think about the packaging and all these kinds of things. When you're talking about a service, you have to think about, how am I going to deliver this? How easy is it going to be to get? What are the, if it's like a loan product, for example, at a bank, like what are the criteria for somebody to actually be eligible for this loan? How easy is it to fill out the forms? All that kind of stuff. So what you have here is a diagram that I actually put together many, many years ago to kind of sort of a typical diagram that you could probably find in many places. But essentially what this is the process by which we develop products. And it's really, I like to think of it in these 3 stages. And the first stage is called filling the funnel. So filling the funnel, the idea here is that when I'm creating new products, I am going to come up with lots of products that I could launch that seem to fit what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. So I need to set a strategy. What is it that I'm trying to accomplish with this product? All coming out of my positioning and all that work. I'm going to do market research, try to understand what people's needs are and so forth. I'm going to do all that. I'm going to set my strategy. What is it that I'm trying to do? The next step that I usually talk about is this idea is to define growth initiatives, or define the opportunities. So now that I've set my strategy, what are the big ideas that I can go after? Like, my strategy, maybe I want to grow. And at one point I worked in cracker new products at Nabisco. One of my growth initiatives that I came up with was, or that I was asked to focus on, was how can we create cracker products that serve as what they call the meal bridge. The meal bridge is, basically like sometime between, noon when you have lunch and 6:30 or whatever when you have dinner. Sometimes you get hungry. Can I create something, a cracker product that could, sort of fit in that middle, sort of in between afternoon snack kind of category that is a little bit more substantial than just a snack, something that can tide me over. So that was a growth initiative that came out of our strategy. So then the next piece is, now I'm going to explore conceptual solutions. And this is sort of the first part of what we'll call product market fit. So in the cracker example, I was looking at many, many different ways of creating products that could fulfill that need of something that tides me over between meals. And so there were lots of solutions. We had cracker sandwiches that looked like, that were made out of bagel chips. We had um, bar shaped cracker sandwiches that had, cracker on top, cheese in the middle, and a cracker on the, underneath, etc. And I had criteria that I was looking at and whatever, but I came up with many, many ideas. And you can see that on the diagram that this portion of the process is sort of depicted as a little bit of a cycle, because you're actually coming up with lots of ideas. And then what you're doing is you're testing those ideas in research. You're asking consumers, basically you're not creating the product yet. You're just putting on paper, this is what this product would do. This is what it's going to look like and whatever. And you're asking consumers to say, hey, is this a product you'd be interested in or not? Now, a lot of times what people do is they come up with one product and it tests well, and they're like, all right, I'm going to go make that. Actually, what you really need to do, because this is all about filling the funnel, is how do I come up with 10, 15, 20 different products that I could use to fill this need? And the reason you're doing that is because later on in the process, it gets very hard sometimes. Like, I can come up with an idea, but it might not be financially feasible. It might not be profitable. It might not be operationally feasible, meaning I can't make it. So I actually want to have lots of ideas that can sort of give me the sense that, hey, I have found a sort of general area. In this case with crackers, it might have been, these cracker sandwiches, this idea of like something filled with cheese. So it was either, could be like sort of like a combo, if people remember that snack product, or a cracker sandwich or something like that. But it was sort of a cheese filled sort of cracker product or whatever was what we were thinking about. And the reality was I tested, probably 20 to 30 of these, and they were all testing really well. People were interested in, which meant I had found sort of a good area to focus on. And I had enough ideas that if one of them or 10 of them or 15 of them fell out, I would still probably have ideas later on to go forward with. And so that's really that's what I mean by filling the funnel. Is I've come up with lots of ideas because I know that what's going to happen is over time, I'm going to whittle down those ideas because they're not going to work. And so what I want is to start with, 20 ideas on the assumption that one or two will come out the other end. Unfortunately, a lot of times what people do, like I said before, is they come up with one idea that tests well on paper, and then they're off to races and they're trying to make that one idea happen. And they do really stupid things trying to make it happen. Like, they start to decrease the quality, or they make it, they can't make it work. So they come up with something that's almost like it and whatever. And by the time they're done, the thing that comes out the other end is not a good, and it doesn't work, and it's not profitable and whatever. And the launch fails, right? So what you want to do is actually have lots of ideas that you're going to put into your funnel, which then leads us into the develop, actually the next step, the last step of the funnel filling was the gain pipeline alignment. So this is, now that I've looked at all these opportunities and I've tested and whatever, I'm going to actually have a conversation with my organization about which ones should we move forward, because we can't possibly take, 100 ideas and make them all. So which of the 10, 15, 20, whatever that I want to, sort of see what happens when I try and make them. So now I'm going to go into this from gaining pipeline alignment. I now go into the next stage, which says develop consumer solutions. So this would be the product development stage over on the right there. And this is where I actually have, research and development folks literally make prototypes. Especially with actual physical products, they're actually making the product. So they might make that cracker sandwich that I was talking about that looks like a bagel, or they would make a bar-shaped cracker sandwich that had essentially a Ritz cracker on top and cheese in the middle and another Ritz cracker on the bottom. So then, and we're going to test these prototypes. So there's research. So whereas we were just in the previous stage doing research, sometimes focus groups, sometimes quantitative surveys, but all on paper. At this point now, I'm creating products, and I'm going to actually take product, actual crackers and whatever, and bring them into a focus group. Or if it's a service, maybe I've got a mocked up website. I want to have people, test it out and see what they think and what stops them, what gets them, sort of off track, or makes them decide they don't want to move forward or whatever. So now I'm going to create this product and make sure that I have delivered on the concept that I created. I'm going to go to focus groups or and actually give them the product to eat. Or there's something called a CLT, a central location test, as you may have participated in these, where somebody recruits you in a mall and says, "Hey, we're testing some product. Would you like to test it out?" And you go into a testing facility in the mall, and you get to taste the product and tell them what you think. Or there's something called a HUT, or iHUT, which stands for an in-home use test. In this case, I'm actually literally sending products to people in their houses. And they are going to use that product, and then they're going to answer a bunch of questions. And I'm going to use all that information, all that research and whatever, to make decisions about, is this working? Do people like it? Do I need to make improvements? Is this a product that isn't going to work at all? And even getting a sense of, based on how much they like it, how big of a launch is this going to be? Is it going to, do people like this enough that I'm going to be able to sell, $50 to $100 million of it and actually make some real money on it? And if it doesn't deliver on that, let's say my objective was I have to find a product that is, has a certain margin and it sells at least, $75 million. If the research says it's not going to work, I got to either go back to the drawing board, go back to another solution that's in the funnel, or I need to tweak the thing that I have or whatever, but I need to rework it so that it's going to work. So that's the product development part of the funnel. So this point is when you actually, ideally, it's not always how this works, because a lot of times what companies do is they say they're going to launch something long before they know if they can actually launch it, is now you're going to set your launch calendar. So when am I going to launch this? And once that's done, now we're sort of off to the races. I know what my product is. So now I have to develop my go-to-market strategy and my marketing plan. And this is where I need to finalize all of the details. So I hopefully was thinking about the packaging and how that packaging works. Is it easy to open? Does it keep the product fresh, etc.? How does it function? But also, how does it work in the store? Like, can Hershey Kisses, as an example, for many, many years were in these what they call lay down bags. And so when you put Hershey Kisses on the shelf in the store, you actually couldn't see the branding very well, because all you could see was a very small strip along the side of the package. So if you really how do I create a package that can be easily seen in the store? Are the colors good? Can you tell what brand it is? If I have often in product product marketing, you might have multiple flavors of the same product. So can I tell that this one's cheddar and this one's sour cream and onion, or whatever it is? If I can't tell those things, it's going to make it hard for people to know that this product is there, know that it's a new product, know which flavor it is, and the product isn't going to do well. So I got to make sure in the commercialization phase that I'm not just thinking about that final, sort of portion of the customer journey where they actually use the product at home, but also thinking about, how do I get this product into stores? How am I going to get it onto displays? How do I get sales? How do I get people to try the product by essentially getting the retailer, Walmart or whoever, to put it on a rollback or drop the price or whatever it is? So I need to get all the details right in terms of how I'm going to go to market, but I also have to get my marketing plan right, meaning how am I going to talk about this? How am I going to promote it, etc.? And so this is where we'll talk about this in the rest of the P's. But when you are developing product, it's not enough to just be like, here's a delicious product that everybody's going to love. I can't tell you how many times I have tasted delicious products that everybody's going to love that never either made it through this funnel or made it through the funnel and then failed because something along the way, some step along the way wasn't thought through. And it's often the things that get in the way of product development is you don't have enough ideas, so you're too reliant on one idea, and the one idea has some fatal flaw. It's not profitable, it's not easy to make, or whatever. And then And then the third, way that products often fail is that you didn't think through how you were going to bring it to market. So you didn't get the packaging right and so nobody saw it. So even though it was a great product, nobody ever tried it because, the packaging didn't fit on the shelf or whatever. So I thought I'd share a quick story since we're talking about product development from my days working at Nabisco. So one of the brands that I worked on was a brand called 100 Calorie Packs. You may be familiar with this, but this when I was running that brand, it was brand new. It was like in its second year, very fun business to be on because it was growing. It was such a positive thing people were looking for. Like, I want real snacks, but I want small portions of it. And so they were willing to pay more essentially to get, the product packaged in a way that they would only eat 100 calories worth. And this product had launched the previous year. There was an Oreo cookie one and a Chips Ahoy one. And then I think there were a couple others. But just to describe the Oreo cookie product, it wasn't great. It was kind of like an Oreo flavored cracker. There was no cream in the middle. It was just sort of an Oreo flavored cracker with chocolate chips in it. And so it wasn't a great experience. So people would get this thing and they'd be like wanting 100 calories worth of Oreos, and they get essentially 100 calories worth of Oreo flavored crackers, and the Chips Ahoy ones were similar. And so my boss and who was the head of the cookie division at Nabisco wanted to come up with a product that was more like Oreo. And so what they had come up with was this idea of what was called an Oreo cookie bite, I think is what it was called. And it was essentially like an M11 that had an Oreo center, a layer of cream, and then a candy shell around it. And the idea was you'd get, I don't know, whatever, 10 or 15 of these for 100 calories. And the product was pretty good, but it didn't quite taste right. When I first came on this brand, they were already working on this product, and it didn't quite taste right. There was no place that we could find to make it, and financially it was going to cost too much. And then there were some problems even with we had some rules around the nutrition. Wasn't just that it was 100 calories, but it had to meet certain nutrition rules, and it wasn't meeting those nutrition rules. So it needed a lot of work. But the idea was we're going to launch this in, whatever, I don't know, it was 8 months. And I looked at this because I've been working on many, many new product projects and before that, and I'm like, this is never going to happen. Now, what I didn't do was say, this is never going to happen. But I says, we're going to work on this. But I said, I would like to. So basically, we are sort of deep into the product development part of that funnel that I just showed you, and I'm seeing problems everywhere. And so my thought is, we got to go back to the beginning of the funnel and find something else that we could launch instead. And my boss was sort of like, yeah, I don't know. We just need to focus on this one thing. And I was like, well, can I just do this, on the cheap, right? And so basically, I ended up talking with the folks in our research and development group. And I said, can we come up with a bunch of things that we could have sort of waiting in the wings so that if this Oreo cookie bites thing doesn't work out, we've got something else that we can use. And so we brainstormed and came up with, I don't know, 10 or 12 different products that we thought would be interesting. And then we had a research and development associate actually create these. And they created a whole bunch of things. But one of the things they created was a 100-calorie Lorna Doone. Now, I don't know if anybody knows the Lorna Doone brand, but Lorna Doone is a shortbread cookie. It is just one of the smaller brands in Nabisco's portfolio. Nobody really knows that much about it or whatever. But what I thought was interesting about this was this product, when they made it, was like spot on. It was exactly like a real shortbread cookie. It wasn't a cracker or whatever. It was an actual real cookie. And so we had this product. I'm like, this is pretty good. So I take some of the product and I bring it to my boss. I'm like, I think we should work on this. And he's like, that's ridiculous. I mean, Lorna Doone, nobody's ever heard of Lorna Doone. It's never going to sell well, whatever. And I said, well, it's interesting because, in some ways a plain cookie might be more believable, because we can deliver on it better than an Oreo cookie or a Chips Ahoy cookie. And he was like, okay, whatever, you keep working on it, but I really want you to focus on this Oreo cookie bites thing. And so then I went off and I did a concept test, a paper test, to see if consumers would be interested in this. And it was surprising. There was quite a bit of interest in this product. I think, again, because people are like, oh, I really believed that I could get 100 calories worth of shortbread cookies or whatever. So now I've got the actual product, and I've got a concept test saying this is actually not a bad idea. And in the meantime, my Oreo Cookie Bites project is starting to run into all the things that I was afraid it was going to run into. And so I basically was like, went back to my boss again, and I'm like, hey, we've got all this great data that says this is a good idea, and this other project isn't working. He's like, yeah, I can see that this is starting to be a problem. Why don't you keep working on this, and why don't you do an actual product test? So we actually had samples made. I can't remember if we did focus groups or a home use test, but we now had testing data that said people, when they actually ate the product, actually loved the product. So now we got all this data, and at this point, the Oreo Cookie Bites project is now basically stalled, right? They can't make it at the right price. They can't make it. They still haven't found a place that can manufacture this thing. And so we basically said, all right, we're going to have to put that on hold. And so because I had been working on this crazy idea of Lauren doing Thin Crisp, whatever, or Lauren doing shortbread cookie crisp, it was already ready to go. And so we ended up launching this product on time. And interestingly, it ended up doing way better than anybody expected. And in its first year, if I remember correctly, it actually at some point surpassed the sales of the Oreo and Chips Ahoy products that we had in the line. Again, I mean, some of that was because it was new and different and people were looking for variety. And some of it, I think, was because it was believable. I'm not sure that it sustained that it was always better than the Oreo ones or the Chips Ahoy ones, but it definitely did much better than anybody ever expected. And then ultimately, I think after I had moved off the business or whatever, I think it ultimately turned out that that those Oreo cookie bites and Chips Ahoy cookie bites actually did end up launching. But this actually sort of, having something else in the pipeline ready to go kind of saved the day. So to summarize on the bullets on the right here, product development requires marketers to use many different research tools, as I mentioned, in order to develop a product that solves the customer or consumer problem in a way that also fits not just the consumer need, but also the business needs and strategy. The goal is to create a product that is able to deliver on that solution in the way that was promised to the consumer at an acceptable price and in a profitable way for the company. So it's not enough to just come up with a product that consumers will like. It has to work for the company. It has to be makeable. It has to be feasible. It has to be profitable. All of those things have to be true. And if they're not true, what'll happen is the product will end up not getting through the process and fail, or it will get even worse. It will actually go out in the market, and the product that goes out in the market isn't what consumers thought it was going to be, because you had to sort of cut corners and make it cheaper and whatever it is. And then the product fails in market, which is very, very expensive. And so this is why it's so important when you're developing products to have multiple options in your pipeline.